In 1939, the world went to war with a mix of Great War relics and modern industrial miracles. But superior tactics mean nothing if your infantry cannot win the firefight. Who actually possessed the deadliest infantry squad? Was it the German doctrine of machine gun supremacy, the Soviet philosophy of mass production, or the American industrial gamble on semi-automatic fire? The Chinese National Revolutionary Army. Their placement here isn't a reflection of courage. Their soldiers fought with immense determination, but a reflection of industrial catastrophe. The NRA didn't just fight the Japanese. They fought a complete lack of standardization. By 1937, for every 2 soldiers, there was often only 1 rifle available. The primary arm was the Hanyang Type 88 rifle. Essentially a licensed copy of the German Kar98, this weapon was already obsolete before the war began. It utilized a clumsy in-block clip system that was notorious for jamming in the mud, and the ballistics were dated, while the major arsenals attempted to modernize with the Type 24 Chiang Kai-shek rifle. A robust copy of the Mauser standard model production could never match the attrition rates of the Japanese invasion. The logistical reality was chaotic. A single Chinese division might be fielding rifles chambered in 6.5mm Japanese, 7.62554mm Russian, and 7.92mm Mauser. Supply lines didn't just break, they evaporated. However, there was one bright spot in the Chinese arsenal, the Czechoslovakian ZB-26 light machine gun. This was a world-class weapon, reliable, fed from a top-mounted 20-round magazine and air-cooled. It was the backbone of Chinese resistance. But the tragedy of the NRA was volume. Most infantry companies lacked any automatic weapons entirely. With soldiers rationing sometimes 10 rounds per man, the NRA was forced to rely on sheer manpower and grit against a mechanized enemy. Ranking 7th is Italy. The Regio Esercito entered the conflict with adequate rifles, but they were crippled by perhaps the single worst squad support weapon of the entire war. The standard issue was the Carcano Modello 1891. Often unfairly maligned in pop culture, this was actually a solid, reliable, bolt-action rifle, chambered in the lighter 6.5 Pine 52mm Carcano cartridge. It offered low recoil and deep penetration. It used a 6-round N-block clip, giving it a slight capacity advantage over the standard 5-round magazines of the era. However, Mussolini's administration made a fatal logistical error right before the war. They attempted to switch to a more powerful 7.35mm cartridge, but halted the transition halfway through. This left the Italian supply chain flooded with 2 different calibers that looked nearly identical but were incompatible. In the heat of combat, this confusion was disastrous. But the real reason Italy ranks so low is their light machine gun, the Breda Modello 30 light machine gun. To call this weapon flawed is an understatement. It was a disaster. It fired from a closed bolt, meaning it cooked off rounds if it got too hot. It used a slow, fixed 20-round strip that had to be hand-loaded. But the fatal flaw was the lubrication system. The gun required an oil pump to lubricate cartridges as they entered the chamber. In the deserts of North Africa, that oil acted like a magnet for sand and dust, turning the gun into a jammed paperweight within minutes. Without a reliable base of fire, Italian riflemen were left exposed, forced to fight 20th century battles with 19th century output. At number 6, we have France. The tragedy of the French army wasn't that their weapons were bad. In fact, some were excellent. It was that they simply didn't make enough of them in time. Their modern service rifle was the Mars Modello 1936. This was a rugged, oddly purpose-built war machine, chambered in the modern 7.5 ICE 54mm French cartridge. It featured a distinctive, dog-leg bolt handle designed to be operated easily while keeping the shooter low to the ground. It was shorter and handier than most W1 holdovers. The problem? Only 250,000 were ready when the Germans invaded. The vast majority of French troops were still carrying W1/W1 era Lebel and Berthier rifles, struggling with the outdated 8mm rimmed cartridge that was a nightmare for logistics. However, the French squad did have teeth. The Fusil Mitrailleur Model 1924 M29. This is often considered one of the best light machine guns of the early war period. It was reliable, fed from a 25-round magazine, and had a dual trigger system for semi-auto and full auto fire. It was superior to the British Bren in weight and handling, but again production numbers were the killer. France also had a hidden gem, the Mars 38 submachine gun, a futuristic high-quality weapon that barely saw action. At the war dry dawn, French manufacturing might have changed the tide. But in 1940, superior engineering couldn't save them from inferior mobilization. Number 5 is Imperial Japan. The Japanese approach to infantry equipment was distinct. They didn't prioritize firepower, they prioritized reliability in hellish conditions. Their primary weapon was the Esercito Type 99 short rifle. This was one of the strongest bolt-action ever devised. Chambered in 7.7.7.58mm, it hit harder than the previous 6.5mm generation. Crucially, Japan was the first nation to standard-issue chrome-lined barrels. In the humid, corrosive environments of the Pacific jungles, this feature prevented the barrels from rotting out, ensuring the weapon fired when nothing else would. For squad support, they utilized the Type 99 light machine gun. Closely related to the British Bren, this was an excellent magazine-fed weapon. It was accurate and reliable. Uniquely, the Japanese often fitted their machine guns with bayonets, a testament to their aggressive doctrine. However, Japan falls to the middle of the list because of a tactical rigidity. Their doctrine relied heavily on spirit and the bayonet charge. They severely neglected submachine gun production, producing the Type 100 submachine gun in negligible numbers. As the war turned against them, and they faced enemies with semi-automatic rifles and massed automatic fire, the bolt-action Esercito simply couldn't put enough lead in the air to win the engagement. We are entering the top 4, the titans of the war. Before we reveal the Soviet Union, I have a question for you. Do you think the reliability of a bolt-action is worth more than the complexity of a semi-automatic? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. At number 4, the Soviet Union, the Red Army proved that perfect is the enemy of good enough. Their equipment was crude, finished with rough tool marks, and built with loose tolerances, and that is exactly why it worked in the freezing mud of the Eastern Front. The backbone of the army was the Mosin-Nagant model 1891-30. It was long, poorly balanced, and the action was often sticky. But it was virtually indestructible, firing the powerful 7.62 by 54mm rimmed cartridge. It could punch through cover that other rifles couldn't. With over 37 million produced, the Soviets ensured that while they might run out of food, they would never run out of rifles. But the real game changer was their adoption of the submachine gun, the PP Short 41 submachine gun. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a strategy. By 1943, entire Soviet platoons were armed exclusively with this weapon. Firing the high-velocity 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev round from a massive 71-round drum magazine, it pumped out 900 rounds per minute. In the close-quarters fighting of Stalingrad or Berlin, a squad of PP shotgunners could shred a German unit before they could even work their bolt actions. Supported by the rugged DP-27 light machine gun, the Soviet infantrymen dominated close-range combat. They lacked the precision of the British or the range of the Americans. But within 100 meters, the Red Army was a meat grinder. Number 3 is the British Empire. If the Soviets were a sledgehammer, the British were a scalpel. They achieved a perfect balance of training, reliability, and the best logistical system of the war. The star of the show was the rifle, number 4 WW2 Enfield. This is widely considered the finest bolt-action battle rifle ever made. It featured a 10-round detachable magazine, double the capacity of the German or American bolt-actions. The rear-locking bolt-action was incredibly fast, allowing trained soldiers to perform the Mad Minute, putting 20 to 30 aimed shots downrange in 60 seconds. But a rifle is only as good as its support. The Bren light machine gun. Chambered in the same .303 British round as the rifle, a logistical dream. The Bren was a masterpiece. It was accurate enough to be used as a sniper rifle, but robust enough to sustain automatic fire. Unlike the German MG42, which chewed through ammo, the Brenn's slower fire rate allowed for sustained, accurate suppression. For close quarters, they utilized the Sten gun. It looked like a plumber's pipe and cost about $10 to make, but it worked. The British infantry squad was professional, well-equipped, and logistically unburdened, allowing them to fight effectively from the deserts of Africa to the hedgerows of France. At number 2, Nazi Germany. The Wehrmacht is often mythological for their technology, and for good reason. They built their entire infantry doctrine around a single terrifying weapon, the Maschinengewehr 42, MG42. Known as Hitler's buzzsaw, this weapon revolutionized warfare. Using a roller-locked action and a stamped metal body, it delivered a blistering 1,200 rounds per minute. The psychological impact was devastating. A single MG42 team could pin down an entire company. The German squad didn't maneuver to shoot. They maneuvered to feed the machine gun. The riflemen carried the Carabiner 98k, a shortened Mauser system known for exceptional accuracy and strength. However, by World War II standards, it was outdated. With only 5 rounds and a slow bolt throw, the German rifleman was essentially just an ammunition carrier and flank protector for the machine gunner. Germany also pioneered the first true assault rifle, the Sturmgewehr 44 Sage G44, but it arrived too late and in too few numbers to alter the rankings. While the German squad had the highest defensive firepower in history, their over-reliance on the machine gun was a tactical flaw. If the MG42 went down, the squad's firepower collapsed. And finally, at number 1, the United States. The Americans earned the top spot not just because of industrial might, but because they were the only nation to fundamentally change the math of the infantry squad. The U.S. Rifle Caliber 30 M1, commonly known as the M1 Garand. General George Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. While the Germans and British were manually cycling bolts between every shot, every single American rifleman could fire 8 rounds of .306 ammunition as fast as they could pull the trigger. This allowed for walking fire and suppression capabilities that no other army could match. One American squad could put more aimed rounds downrange in a minute than a German squad could, even with an MG42. Supporting the Garand was the Browning automatic rifle BAR M198A2. While it lacked the belt-fed capacity of the German guns, it gave the squad mobile automatic fire that could move with the assault. Added to this were the Thompson M1A1 and the M3 grease gun for close quarters. The American advantage was total saturation. If you knocked out the BAR gunner, the remaining riflemen were still armed with semi-automatic weapons. They possessed the highest floor of firepower, the most flexible tactics, and a logistical system that ensured they never ran dry. From the desperate defense of China to the overwhelming firepower of the United States, World War II proved that while bravery wins battles, logistics and engineering win wars. But here is the debate. Would you rather have the precision of the British Lee Enfield or the raw volume of the German MG42? I want to see your arguments in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our upcoming video on World War II tank armor. Thanks for watching.